All right. I recently turned 50, and it has its own challenges. Actually, I heard on the radio about when you wear a flash shirt and you turn 50, you're just putting your hand up looking for attention. So I'm going to have to redress myself. But 50 comes with some challenges. There's a physical challenge, you know. And I remember getting ready for my party, and I remember when you turn 100, you get a letter from the Queen, and she says, "Dear Ed, you know, thumbs up, you made it." When you get to 50, you get a letter from the New Zealand government, from the Ministry of Health, and it's a little tube for a poo sample. So the joy of 50 has been challenged. And then stuff goes on, you know, like I used to be a wee bit slimmer around here, and it's getting a bit bigger, and I come from a family with big noses, and I thought, I made it. And then you get to 50, they tell you your ears and your nose start growing again. And here, you know, I don't mind going slightly bald, but it's where it's turning up is what's pissing me off, you know. It's coming off my back, my ears, I'm becoming a beast. And 50, you know, it's just a challenge. And then you have these other things, like they say your blood pressure starts going up, you know. And then they did a study in the UK on 250,000 people, biggest study ever on blood pressure. And 45% of them only had high blood pressure when the doctor or nurse was taking it. So half of the people in the UK on blood pressure tablets shouldn't have been on it. And you go, wow, you know, these are some pretty big challenges. I mean, in the last few years, the old food pyramid's gone upside down. You know, we have to really take ownership of our health because the advice we're getting is pretty dodgy, okay? And then you get the mental bit, you know, I don't want to go mad, I, you know, hear about dementia and all this stuff. When I used to look at my daughter, and I was a superhero. You know, now I'm this three-headed monster. You know, it just goes, she just sees through me now. And mentally, you know, we say, take fish oil, you know, do Sudoku, get the head going, keep the head active. And it's important. It's really important because we're meant to live to 150, you know, but we let ourselves die a little bit too early, right? Okay, we've got to stay alive. And then in Laguna Rest Home in the LA, they've got 10,000 residents, and you get free medical care if they get to follow your life along. And what they've been doing is they've been measuring blood pressure and looking at dementia. And what they found out is the people who took blood pressure tablets and kept their blood pressure down got dementia, because we no longer had the pressure of the blood into the far arterioles of the brain, so they get little clots. And that's what dementia is. It's when arterioles close up and you get a little clot in there. So suddenly you go, wow, you know, life is suddenly quite different, isn't it? And as the next few years, we're going to find out things. Like we're living longer, but we're living healthily shorter. So the challenges are there. Then I think my next one is the emotion, the motivation of getting older. And so today, be motivated, get your pens and work, okay? Write stuff down, because I'm going to tell you 200 things, and 20 of them will be really relevant to you, so write the bastards down, okay? And I do swear just a little bit, all right? But as we get older, we also go, you know, when I started, I wanted to save the world. I wanted to have a house on the beach. You know, I wanted all these things, and I was prepared to work for it. But now I'm a little bit older. I'm also a little bit wiser. So I know that if I'm going to get that house on the beach, I'm not going to work a 30-hour day. I'm going to work smarter. I'm going to work with a bit more intelligence, get a few people to help me make some better decisions. So suddenly, I've got a better plan, but I've got to stay passionate. And I hope everyone here is passionate about life, because I sure as hell still am. All right? And that's critical. All right? And you look at life and you look back and you go, wow, you know, when you're 30, you think, I'm the gang, you know, I've got it all going on. And then when you get to 35, you look back at the opportunities you squandered, you know, so you were an idiot back then, but you're so much wiser now. And I'll look back at 55 of 50-year-old Ed, and I'll go, look at the idiot. Look at the opportunities that presented, all right? So don't be too busy to get them. I went and saw John Tucker, a Baptist minister, and he was talking about the disciples and Jesus. And it's not a religious thing, but it's just so relevant. Why did the disciples discover Jesus? The disciples essentially were unemployed. John the Baptist was a manic depressive, suicidal attempts left, right, and centre. They were all handicapped. They had various limbs missing and diseases. They had no job. So they're going around, I'm so bored. And in walks someone and they go, oh, I might listen to him. How many of you in the last week have said, I'm too busy? Hands up. Okay, give yourself an uppercut. Don't ever say that, because that is saying, I am so into myself that I'm going to miss all these opportunities going on, right? It's just the worst thing you can say. I was 9 years old. I'm sitting on the bank of Holy Cross. The sun's coming, and I've got a chopper bicycle with the big seat and the 3-stick gears and the handlebars. I am king of the Holy Cross school. I can smell the pine trees, and I've got a menthol cigarette in my hand. How cool is this kid? How far ahead is this kid thinking? Maybe a minute? Maybe 2 minutes? How far ahead are you guys thinking? Right? Because the further ahead you think, the faster you're going to get there. We've got to go back and live in the now. There's 3 things you've got to do in the now. We all see and we hear. But if you inquire, if you use a third sense, smell. So I'm going to take a big smell. Now you are not thinking of the past or the future. You are in the present. We've got to use our senses. Touch things. Every now and then, just smell stuff, touch stuff. Bring yourself back to now. Because none of us should be thinking that far ahead. If you're thinking, I'll get through this, maybe Christmas is coming up soon, summer's here, I'm going to take a little break, you miss out on today. And the only way you're going to have a good life is planning. You must plan to have a good life, and today's about that. Because you have 200 choices today that you could make to up the game. So I'm 29 years old, 20 years later, I'm on a flight. I've just seen Michael Crawford's Phantom of the Opera. And I'm listening to Aaron Neville, Bird on a Wire. The sun's coming up out here, or going down. I've got a gin and tonic in my hand, and I'm thinking, holy crap, I'm 9 years old again. How good is life? I'm in the Holy Grail, right there. So the Holy Grail is a moment in time that's really simple, where we feel friggin' brilliant. So for the next 40 minutes or so, you guys are going to talk to the person next to you and around you. Quickly tell the person a Holy Grail moment. Go. Start doing it. Holy Grail moment. Now I start talking. Okay. Okay, come back to me. Who's got a Holy Grail moment? Hands up. Who can think of one?
On a racing yacht, spinnaker up on the trapeze, couldn't be in the moment, you were going to be wet real soon.
That's it. Who else has got one? Thank you. You are such a palm, aren't you? Sailing. Hey, Holy Grail moments are there every day. I went for a walk down by the waterfront as I came here. Brilliant. You know, it was just absolutely beautiful. But I could have just hopped in the car and come here. Who listens when you hop in the car? Who has organised what they're going to put into their heads? Or we just turn it on and listen to bloody news. You know, someone else has hung themselves or died. We have to make a lot of good choices. All right? So the Holy Grail moment is something we're going to aspire to later on. All right? Now, I had a good life. I started off, I was born in Japan. And my sisters are all 6 foot tall, and my brother's 6'6", and we were brought up in the 70s in Tokyo. And we'd walk down the main street, just have a whole lineup of little Japanese touching us. And life was fantastic, you know. Went to a Catholic school back here. Who are the Catholics here? Hands up. Okay, we tend to get into a little thing and forgive ourselves frequently. We have issues, but life was good. And I was a good rugby player. So I was made head boy and got accredited UE. So life is simple. Things have changed. And then I went over to America, and I went over on a football scholarship. And, you know, it was exciting. And I got over there, and I suddenly realized that perhaps I'm not a very good football player. So two years later, I'm going, shit, what am I going to do? And down the road was a chiropractic college, so I thought, that'll do me. But then I had to get a job because I've lost my scholarship. So I became a disc jockey. I told them I was really good at music. I was a sound man for REM for 2 years. Ended up working in LA and in New York as a DJ. And I thought, no, Ed, you're a chiropractor, you've got to go back. And I'll tell you what, chiropractor is stress. You go to a dinner party and say, I'm a chiropractor, they go, oh, can I tell you about a guy who killed me? You know, so I became a builder or anything else other than a chiropractor. But being a chiropractor was a great challenge, and I worked hard, and I got a couple of clinics going. And life was very, very good. I played rugby at North Shore with Buck and Frano, and unfortunately I soon discovered that perhaps my rugby prowess was right up there with my American football prowess. But I hadn't met a lady. And I went to the school ball back in high school. And I went with Karen. And I went with Pauline. And Pauline's best friend was Karen. And Karen went with my best friend, Mark. And my date, Pauline and I, we got on pretty good. But Karen was hot. And my date was not. So I spent the whole night trying to chat up Karen. And I heard she's back in town. So I go, Karen, it's Ed Timming. She goes, who? Stalker, 10 years, come on. She said, okay, so I convinced her to go on a date with me. And the date we went to was, I thought, at a nice little Italian restaurant down by Castor Bay. But it had become an Indian restaurant. And what happens to adrenaline junkies, excitable characters when they eat Indian food? We start sweating. But there was one table that had an air conditioning unit, so I got that. I borrowed my mate Scott Pierce's car because mine was very, very average. And I bought some little bottle of champagne and a bottle of port and a bottle of wine, just in case the night went well, a couple of glasses down at the beach. And then I got an index-full card full of possible topics of conversation. How did my date go? How'd it go? Fantastic. Why? Because I was in the moment. You know, most of us are letting our relationships go. We're not going, we've got the friggin' table full of our incoming emails and texts, and we're diluting itself down. It's very hard to separate private to personal. Isn't it? Everyone goes, I want to know how to separate my personal life from my private life. Well, it's not going to happen. And even worse, if you screw up in either of them, it's going to be on social media. So life is hard. Like, our parents grew up with needs and wants. They just had to provide shelter, love, and food. Man, we don't. We have to provide a lot more than that. And so we have to be smart because everyone's competing for need, for wants. You know, that's a greediness about wants. And sometimes I think all we've got to do is cut half our bloody wants out and life will be less stressful. All right? Because we're all fighting for everything. But that's life. Life was good. Karen eventually fell to my charms and married me. And I so began the process of the Adams generation family, all right? And my son Jack is 6'5". He's an opera singer. He's a wonderful little fella, big fella. And then we had Ella. Now I'm going to tell you what happens next. But I'm not telling you for your sympathy. I'm telling you because this is what started me on this thing. We had a daughter who died 2 days after birth. She had a clot. And suddenly my world hit a no because I'd had a good life. I'd hit a challenge. My father had been in Bahrain, but just done the London Marathon. So I said, Dad, I've got to have a funeral. Would you come home? So he rushed home, and he had some chest pain during the run. So I went to get it checked, and I gave him a little bit of medication, and he died on the spot. He was allergic to it. So suddenly I've lost two very important people. But even worse, not even worse, insignificantly really, I also had a business, a property company, and we had quite a bit of land and houses. And at the day of my father's funeral, my partner embezzled all the funds. So I'm now lost my daughter, lost my dad, and I'm broke. What do we do when things go wrong? We try to fix it, eh? You know, we go, I'll work harder. Lost my house, bought the house next door. You know, lost my child, I had 3 more. Well, I just went after everything. I thought, I better work hard. And then one day out of the blue, April the 20th, the year 2000, George was born, Milford School Pool. I'm swimming going, well done, Ed, well done, Ed. And I started shaking. And I got very lightheaded. What's happening to me? I'm having an anxiety attack. Who's had one of those? Cool. Who suffers a bit from anxiety and depression? Hands up. You know, when I do a talk, I ask this at the beginning, and no one, you know, a couple of people put their hands up. It's like that Viagra ad. You know, who can't get hard on out there? And everyone goes, did he just say that? And they start covering up. But after a while, it's cool because we're all together and everyone's friggin' hand goes up, you know. It's like that. It's the same rate. Half of us over 40 get depressed. You know, put your hands up. It happens. You know, own it and solve it. All right. But anyway, life came to a thing. Came to a bit of a nutcase. And what had happened during those past few years is I've been given a few signs that I was getting stressed. But what do we do? What are your signs of stress? Let's take a minute. Do you know what your signs of stress are? Mine are, I get skin here. I get lightheaded. Tell the person next to you right now 3 signs. What I want you to do, I want you to write down your 3 signs of stress, okay? Because this is the first part of my talk. Go. What are your 3 signs of stress? Quickly. Oh, no, that was just yelling. I'll just repeat it. Okay, what are they? So everyone start writing them down because I'm going to ask a few people. So, what are your signs of stress?
Get angry.
Get angry. Who gets angry? Okay, that's a serotonin issue. Who else got some signs of stress? Hands up. Help me out. Ulcers, mouth ulcers.
Get sick immediately or take a day off.
Get sick, time out. What else? Who else? Quickly. Yep. Trouble getting to sleep. What's that? Stomach problems, big time. Who gets headaches? Hands up. Who gets lightheaded? Hands up. Who gets irritable bowel? Move away from them. Okay. But there's all these signs. You should have 3 things written down. You should have 3 things written down now, okay? When one of those signs appears, what do? You change your freaking life. What do we really do? Nothing. And what do those little problems that we've been told about become? Major problems. All right? So here I am, a young fellow with a bunch of kids, and I'm stressed. So I head off to my doctor. Can you pass me that book? Oh, no, I've got it. I head off to my doctor. All right? What does he want me to do? Take a pill, right? What's the average age of death of an American male? 75.8. What's the average age of death of an American male doctor? 57.8. 14 million copies of this book have been sold, and it's been challenged. Dear doctors don't lie. Why do they die so young? No, they're not stressed. I reckon a lot of you guys are stressed. A lot of farmers are stressed. Why do they die so young? What if they get a headache? Take a pill. What if they have high blood pressure? What if they have high cholesterol? What do they tell you to do? Take a freaking pill. I'm not taking a pill. I'm just stressed. I want to go to a doctor. I walk in, the doctor goes, Ed, how are you? Not that good, mate. Okay, let's take some bloods. Let's look at your white blood cell count, red blood cell, look at inflammation. Let's look at your finance, okay? Let's look at your relationships. How are you going? Let's look at work. Are you coping right? What about time-out strategies? Are you having fun? Exercise. What are you doing for exercise? What's your diet like, Ed, you know? I want all those things addressed. Who's a doctor who does that? Yep, a few of us do. Most of us have to take ownership of our lives, of our health, and that's what we're going to do now. So I didn't want that. So then he sent me to a psychiatrist. And the sergeant looked down, they had a doll that looked like Barbie and a doll that looked like Ken, and they wanted to talk to each other and say, what are you doing that, you know, really... And for some people that's very important, but it's not for me. So I needed to move on. So next minute I signed up for the Dalai Lama. I went to Eden Park, and there's the Dalai Lama talking. And he was amazing. And I signed up for a 10-day retreat. A 10-day non-talking, freaking carrot juice drinking retreat. Now I'm very stressed because I'm just hugging trees everywhere. And my wife should have been at that, because when we get stressed, you know, my wife and I, we want to go for a walk on the beach. She's holding my hand. Ed, look at the ocean. I love everything. And I'm holding her hand going, how long to the end of this freaking beach, man? All right? Because I am now very stressed. All right? So we deal with stress very differently. All right? So that kind of didn't work, all right? And then I went to see, I thought, I've got to keep going here, Ed. So I went and saw Matt Church. And Matt Church spoke about the chemicals of stress, because I'm an adrenaline junkie. I've got like 3 hours of performance a day, because I get excited on something. And then something else gets more exciting. And then that becomes, and I leave a trail of destruction behind me, all right? But I'm great to have. Like, football players are these people. You know, what happens to a football player when they retire? You know, life is boring. But we need to look out for stuff. These people have 3 hours of peak performance and have to plan their lives, okay? So what I see plan is just 1 out of 10. All you do, I keep a notebook at home, and I just write a number a day. I rate every day 1 out of 10. I do. It takes me 1 second. But sometimes we go Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Oh, we start picking it up a bit. Yeah, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. Right? We get into these cycles, right? The most damaging thing to the human spirit is the succession of ordinary days. Okay? So what is the sign of an adrenaline junkie getting stressed? We talked about our symptoms. It's tiredness. You know, they call it the adrenal fatigue. So if you find yourself exhausted, you have to plan your life. You have to plan some fun. Plan your way out of this friggin' mess you've got into. All right? Because the other chemical is the chemical of the brain, serotonin. And serotonin is a beautiful chemical, but it's a well-being chemical, you know? It's that ever feeling, I'm feeling good, I'm feeling good, all right? Now, my wife, what's the sign of a serotonin imbalance? Anger. Those nice, quiet people, and suddenly, bang, angry. So those people need to get out at lunchtime. By the way, if you're working with an adrenaline junkie, don't give them a job to do without a deadline. You know, you've got to learn about these chemicals. There's one more chemical that I want to talk and just take 1 minute. It's called cortisol. Cortisol is the chemical of stress. Now, cortisol, who are those anxiety people? This is us, okay? Great chemical, fight or flight. Great to have an emergency, all right? But sometimes things go wrong. We get a bit out of control. Cortisol is very important. In the morning, we need a lot of cortisol to get ourselves going, get ourselves moving, get everything going. It's a brilliant chemical, okay? And it's high. But as the day goes on, it drops off. Now everyone just take note of this. This is what you do when you find yourself in big time trouble, all right? As we go through the day, it drops off. We have a little peak between 5 and 7 p.m. again, all right? Now when life is stressful, that peak gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And now we've got a problem, okay? So between 5 and 7, you've got to do 20 to 30 minutes of hard-ass exercise to get rid of cortisol. Does that make sense? All right? Don't do more than 30 minutes, because any more than 30 minutes produces cortisol. So if you've got a person in trouble, you go round to their house between 5 and 7, get a skipping rope and skip with them. Do it 6 days in a row. They'll know the difference and be a real mate, okay? If you bring their cortisol down, they get back to normal. Because what really happens in life is, guess how many scripts of these three chemicals, actually, adrenaline, serotonin, cortisol, which one of those is an antidepressant? Serotonin. You take a pill that keeps the blood-brain barrier from taking out serotonin. So what does the body do when you take an antidepressant? It stops producing serotonin because it doesn't need to, right? And how many scripts of antidepressants are written every year in New Zealand? Guess how many? 1.6 million. Okay? So if you think this isn't a problem, you're wrong. This is a friggin' problem. Okay? There's two other chemicals, melatonin. Who has difficulty sleeping? Hands up. Okay? What is it? Wake up. So who wakes up between 2 and 3 in the morning? Hands up. Look, all of us. This is normal, okay? What happens is our body goes through chemical changes. Woman, you are from Venus, all right? You will want to be warmer. I will want to be cooler. That's biochemistry. That's who we are, okay? So the amount of water you have in the middle of the day between 11 to 1 is the most important factor. You must have the mean water volume at a normal. But if you're not drinking enough, you're going to fluctuate more than normal. So you're going to end up going to have a pee. We're going to wake up and go to the toilet. You don't really need to go to the toilet. Your temperature's just changed too much. Does that make sense? Who else? What else do we have sleeping-wise? Who can sleep for ages and still be tired? Okay. The most important thing about sleeping is a word beginning with R. What is it? Come on. Wake up. What is it? REM? No. No. He's got it. Just said it. Routing. ROUTINE, routine, right? So, if you're having trouble sleeping, 40 minutes before you go to bed, half the lights go out. And the body gets told, I must produce melatonin. I must produce melatonin. You don't go straight to bed from the computer. Who goes straight to sleep? Hands up when they get to bed. Okay, wrong. It should take about 15 minutes, or you're going into a shallow sleep. You need to shake things off, build melatonin up, build melatonin up. And it's okay if you're coping well, but when life gets tough, this routine, you can have a shower, great idea, but don't turn the light on, put a candle in there, and stay 40 minutes. So the time you get to bed, you've got so much melatonin in your system, you'll drop off to a deep cycle. All right? Insulin. How important is food to humans? The next chemical. How important is food to athletes? Freaking important, isn't it? How important is food to you? Yeah, I'll tell you what, if I go out there and stand at a dairy or something, it's not that important. What's the most important thing about breakfast? We've got a big hole, a little hole. We've got to get the crap out. All that matters is fiber. And you go to Johns Hopkins University, half of the cancers in this world are gastrointestinal cancers. All right? They say 5 grams of fiber every morning, and do a gastroscopy when you're 50 and again when you're 60. All right? You dodge it. 80% chance of dodging a gastrointestinal cancer. So read the food label. How much fiber are you taking? The trouble with breakfast is we've got high cortisol. If you have the same breakfast 4 days in a row, you decrease the nutritional uptake of that breakfast by 50%. Okay? The same breakfast, 50%. Every 4 days, you've got to have something completely different. All right? What is the most important thing about a plate of food? Colour. You're eating a freaking rainbow. Every colour has a different nutrient. So you've got to get colourful plates. Morning tea. What's a good morning tea? Everyone goes, oh, a bit of fruit. But what are we having again? Sugar. What are we dying of? Inflammatory diseases. Everyone should have in your bag a container of nuts. Omega-3, omega-6. Have fruit, have a few nuts. It's no longer a big sugar hit. Lunchtime, enjoy it, but have your white stuff, your rice, your breads, do it then. Don't have them at night. I think the most important meal is afternoon tea. All right? And the reason is, what's the purpose of afternoon tea? You always got to ask yourself, what is the purpose of this meal? And the purpose of afternoon tea is quite simply to stop yourself needing the white stuff at dinner. So you have a protein-based afternoon tea and no white stuff at dinner. So you get your hummuses, your cheeses, your beans, all that stuff. You've got to make your afternoon tea. You can get away with buying the rest, not afternoon tea. All right? Now, the next guy I went to see was Tony Robbins. And Tony Robbins is that guy with the big head, right? Everyone knows who I'm talking about? And he said, mate, how can you look like crap and expect to have a good life? If you sit like this, if you breathe like this, how can you do it? So what I want you to do is I want everyone to stand up. And if I could have you 5 out here. Okay. Now, just stand along here. Hopefully you can all get a peek of them, but I'll describe it to you. Okay. Who's been taught how to breathe? Hands up. Okay. Take a big breath. Go. 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 Okay, that's fantastic. 5 out of 5 bad breathers. Well done. Okay. When you breathe, hands here. All right? Now, as you breathe, this hand should do what? Go out or go in? Well, how come when we all breathe, we went like that? We never lift, these muscles never move. Everyone just stand there for now and breathe in and out with your hands here. Go. And out. In. And out. See, you don't breathe up here. Take a really big breath, but do not lift your chest. Go, big breath. And out. Who's already ready to pass out? Yeah. Okay, that's what happens. Now, stay like that. Hands down by your side. Okay, so in this group here, hands down by your side. 2 Neanderthal women and a left Neanderthal man. Stay there, don't move. Right Neanderthal man, right Neanderthal man. Woo. Hands down by your side. You're good. This is the Neanderthal king. And look at that. That is style. Why am I being so rude? We are not meant to walk with our hands dragging along the ground, facing forward. Okay? Now, are we supposed to stand on our toes or on our heels? Oh, I got heels. A horse. Okay, what do you guys think? Toes or heels? Okay, everyone's standing there now. Walk on your heels. Where do you feel it? In your back, right? Now walk on your toes. Where do you feel it? In your legs. You're supposed to walk on your toes. Now, pair up for a minute. What I want you to do is stand there, get the point. You look straight ahead. Don't join this army. Point at someone's shoulder. Put your hand up and look to see where it goes to the middle of the ear. His is that far, too far forward. Okay, everyone pair up. Go. Quick. Do each other, do each other. Point at the shoulder, look straight ahead, look straight ahead. He's just joined the army. You guys are quite good. Okay, look straight ahead. Yours is about that far, too far forward. Whose heads are too far forward? Okay, so what I want you to do is I want you to stand on your toes. Shorten the position between your pubic symphysis and navel, but stand up tall at the same time. Now check out where your heads are in relation to your shoulders. Perfect, eh? That's how every person under 16 stands. Where you go like this is completely learned behavior. You are going to be injured. All right? Everyone turn their head to the right and to the left. Where you go? Okay, now I've got videos, and go to my videos and download. This is how we start every day. Do this. Everyone do this. You two, you five are still my victims yet. Now, roll the shoulders. Okay, hands up, go back and forth. We're doing the abbreviated one. Okay, now hands up, give it a good stretch. Big stretch. Okay, now, one hand over your head, one hand behind your back. Look, don't put your heads forward. It's just a little stretch. If it's too hard, like I have, just do one hand at a time. And then do the other arm, one hand at a time. Cross over. Now, here's where we get technical. Right hand, right side of head. Try to turn your head. Go. Stop. Turn to the left. Give it a stretch with your right hand. Left hand, left side of head. Stop. Go to the right. Give a little stretch around. Right hand, right side of head. Go. Stop. Turn to the left with your right hand. Stretch it round. Left hand, left side of head. Last one. Stop, turn to the right, stretch it round. Okay, everyone just turn your heads now, left and right. Whose heads are going further? Hands up. Okay, are we prepared to do this every day for the rest of your life? Look, if the answer is no, you're an idiot. Okay, every inch forward is 30 pounds of pressure on your back. Make a commitment to do little things. Now, the lower back's designed to go back and forward. Everyone do this? When is this highly inappropriate? Yeah. Yeah, about now. But there's a whole lot of exercises for your lower back as well, okay? Now, let's see how good we're dealing with life in general. What I want you to do, I want you to stand there, and I want you just to hop on one leg with your eyes open. Go. No, stand on one leg. Just stand on one. So, it's all about communication. Stand on one leg with your eyes open. Go. No problem, eh? Okay, now go back to normal. Close your eyes. March on the spot a couple of times, then stand on one leg, keeping your eyes closed. Go. Oh, no, stand still, I said. No, really, stand still. Okay, see how bad we are? We're depending on our ears and our eyes for balance. But in actual fact, we're all over the friggin' show. So every time you brush your teeth in the morning, stand on one leg with your eyes closed. Who towels themselves down the same way every time? Hands up. Change it, man. Give yourself a shock. Who drives to work the same way? Change it. This is conscious behavior. Lose the conscious behavior. Let's get a little bit frisky. Okay, so you guys all have a seat for a minute. The other thing we do, we get told to walk 10,000 steps a day. So, you five, come down here. Now, relax, come quick. Now, I want you just to walk normally to the end of the stage. Go. Just walk normally. Now, what are you seeing with him? Right hand going like this, left hand coming through, and he's on a freaking mission. I'll get there soon. Okay? Next one. Just relax, nice and normal. Oh, this is good. So he is the hill walker. So you move 10,000 steps, but he's going to be led by his greatest appendage. Ladies, here I come. All right? Next one. Keep going. Not a bad walk. She's probably the best walker I've seen. The reason is, women lose 0.5% of bone density every year after 35. You've got to move the middle part of your back. So get the arms swinging, okay? You've got to make walking a functional moment. Off the toes, swinging the arms. Get it moving. Make it a workout. Not just 35 friggin' bad steps. Away you go. Get it going, brother. Get those arms swinging, and you go too. Away you go. Pushing off the toes. Now, isn't that nicer when you walk with a bit of friskiness? Okay? Thank you, people. Now, I'm going to give you a challenge. If you've got a booklet, open your booklet up. You can have a seat. 2, and we can put it on the screen for those who don't have it. Daily self-assessment. Here's my challenge to you. For the next 30 days, I want you to look at 10 areas of your life. Now, can we flick that on up, that page? What we're going to do is we're going to rate 10 areas of our life, 1 to 10. 1 being excellingly poor, 10 being magnifique. Every day we're going to look at the lowest three and we're going to do something about it the next day, okay? So the first one is physical exercise, all right? How would you rate yourself? So there it is, 1 to 10. Physical exercise, write down what you'd rate yourself, 1 to 10. That means you should stretch. You should do weight training. Why would you walk in the morning? Why'd you walk in the morning? Because you want to lose weight. Why'd you walk in the middle of the day? Because you're not sleeping well. Never exercise at the end of the day if you're not sleeping well. Why would you walk at night? Because you want to develop cortisol. Okay? Look, this is next one, fluid intake. How much water should we drink a day? How much? 2 litres. Why should I have 2 litres and T-Radar have 2 litres when we are slightly different in size? What is the point of water? It's to hydrate us. When are we most dehydrated? When we wake up. So the first thing we do when you wake up is 2 big glasses of water. Okay? And the most important thing about water is your urine should stay what colour? A slight chardonnay. Okay? As Billy T would say, chardonnay. All right? So you have another glass of water before every meal, not within 10 minutes or an hour after. So you get your 8 glasses at the right time and you keep your urine slightly yellow. All right? Number 3, nutrition. Hopefully I've told you a few things. Rate yourself 1 to 10. Productive output. This is really important. We spend a lot of time doing nothing, right? We spend an hour and a half generally on Facebook a day. Come on. What I want you to do is I want you to look at every day and go, was I on task? You know, was I doing the things I want to do or was I just doing things? Does that make sense? Rate yourself 1 to 10. Time out. Who takes time out for themselves every day? Hands up. Okay, that's pretty good. Probably about 8%. Okay, the first thing you should be doing in the day is going, when am I going to have time to myself? Okay, seriously, when you go home from work, who goes straight from work to home? Hands up. I mean, that's awful, isn't it? You know, work's a whole different world. Home's a whole different world. Pull the car over at a park. Just get out of the car and breathe. If you've got teenagers or a partner, what's the first thing you're going to say to them? Because that's going to influence your relationship, right? Just stop the car, get yourself ready, breathe, get relaxed, go home and be a positive member. Okay, finances. If finances are your problem, you're screwed. It's just an awful, awful problem to have, and a lot of people have it. I say, get a bottle of Pinot Noir, Central Otago. Filet mignon, medium rare, and a retired accountant. Put the 3 of them together and shut up and listen. Because if it is your problem, it is your goddamn problem. But the minute you have a plan to get out of it, you're fine. And you can go back to the plan. But the minute you have a plan, it's not a stress anymore. So get a plan. Who's got a financial plan? Everyone? Okay, if you haven't, start drawing one up. You're in charge. How you slept, I hope I've given you ideas. Ability to plan, that's the challenge. If you're doing this, you're on track. But think about it. Who plans to go to the gym every day? Hands up. Who plans to go to work? Hands up. That's about all we plan. We don't plan the next 2. And if I've done talks, this is the most important thing. Relationships. If you don't plan to have a good relationship, what kind of relationship are you going to have? A crappy one. And I don't care whether it's a loved one or mates or work colleagues, you've got to put energy into relationships. All right? And fun. All right? What we do in our family is we have 2 vases. And every Thursday, we put something into the vase at dinner to do, to the other vase to talk about. So my kids didn't grow up talking about my work. They don't grow up talking about their problems at school. We grew up talking about weird stuff. You know, I've got an opera singer son, 3 Duxers in my family, only because we just kept it all lateral. Okay? You've got to have fun. Who has old friends that they don't see anymore? Hands up. Who plays a musical instrument that they don't play anymore? Hands up. Okay? We all know there's free concerts every weekend in every town in New Zealand. Who goes to them? Hands up. The opportunity to have fun. If you take a meal and you take that meal onto the backyard on a blanket, what's it now called? And it's fun. Okay? We're going to tie it up in 2 minutes. I just want you to turn around to the person next to you and tell them 3 things that you wish you did more of that are fun. Go. Start talking. 3 minutes? I'll just wrap it up. Cool. What's that? Shit, dry mouth. All right. Okay, come back to me. Let some of them start yelling out a few things. Hands up, you got one. What is it? Read a book. I mean, how many great books are there out there? You can get a Kindle. It's great when you're reading a book. What else? Exercise. What kind of exercise? If you're an adrenaline junkie, you want it to be exciting. If you're a serotonin seeker, just go for a walk around the same tree. You know, if it's cortisol, you've got to do it hard. You know, exercise, there's so many ways you can eat. Who do you exercise with? You know, what do you eat before and after you exercise? All these things. What else? Come on, what else? What's that? Piano lessons, you bloody beauty. The brain works in two sides, okay, right and left. Who's dominant right-handed? Man, we've got to start using the left hands. If you have a stroke, you won't survive. You'll be paralyzed, okay? But left-handed people, they adapt. They're so much more adaptive. Open doors with your left hand. Write with your left hand. Teach yourself. Any musical instrument is two hands. It's so good for the brain. Every kid must play a musical instrument. Get both hands working. Okay, we choose how we live every day. So what happens, I reckon, is in life, if you could just throw it on here for a sec, we start up, and this is a graph of how you feel and time. And Anthony Robbins was just fantastic. But he said, you know what, when you wake up, you're on fire, and you stay on fire all goddamn day. And I'm going, oh, that's not going to be easy. But we had a post 4 weeks Anthony Robbins crowd in Auckland. 400 people turned up. We had another one 4 weeks later, 40 people turned up. And we had another one 4 weeks later, and we just went to the pub. You know? So it's hard. But Anthony Robbins says, go up here, stay up here all day long. Look, when I wake up, I'm pretty average. You know, I'm down here. But what influences how I feel? How did I sleep? What's the last thing I said to my kids last night? What did I eat for dinner? You know, did I have 40 minutes of time out? Did I have 2 glasses of water as soon as I woke up? What did I listen to in the car? What did I put on as clothes? How do I feel about myself? Did I do a couple of stretches? Did I clean myself up before I went off to work? Did I eat a good breakfast? All that's 10 choices. Bam. Every time you make a choice, you choose. Going up, going down. What's the first thing you say to a work colleague when you get to work? What's your plan for work that day? What are you going to do for lunch? Where's your time out going to be? All these choices, how we feel. Boom. Up or down. You'll never find a sick person who's happy all the time. You know, the happiness comes first. Okay, that's how you stay healthy. That's how you stay a good relationship, a good partner. But I think in life, we tend to think that getting by is okay. You know, I'm getting by. Getting by sucks. All right? I want you to do this challenge for 30 days. Every day I want to look at 10 things in your life. I want you to make little decisions. If you're not eating well enough, don't go and change your kitchen. Just put some nuts in your bag, you know. If your relationship's a bit dodgy, all you got to do is say something nice. That's enough for that day. Don't make it hard. Don't get a new partner. That's not necessary. The old one's going to work. All right? So I'll give you a challenge. Raise the bar. Over the next 30 days, let's see if we can bring the bar up. Let's go back to having fun, looking after ourselves, and making a lot of little smart decisions. Thank you.